Hello and welcome to the Gathering Place. I'm Tom Ray, and joining with me today is our hosts, Talora and Ben Bookie. Unfortunately, our friend Ken Shelton is not able to join us today, but we encourage you to stick around for this broadcast today. It's going to be fantastic, of course, and we invite you to include others to join you today as you watch this. Please share it. Please like on it. Please post your comments. We want your feedback. And then in a little while, we're going to give you contact information if you need some help dealing with any issues that we might be discussing on today's show. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Ben and to Laura. What are we talking about today, guys?
So we're going to continue our discussion from last week when we did a Mother's Day one and just talking about social media and the impact that has on mothers. But now we're going to even just broaden all of that and look at things. And last week, of course, Talora and I were coming to you from a rest stop in Indiana. This week we're on the beach in Ludington in Michigan, for those of you who are outside of Michigan. So you can't see it. We tried to show it. We were like playing around. It's the sun's way too bright out there. Didn't even show up. So sorry. You can't join the beach view with us, but
Well, I think it's all right. I happen to be at Canteen Golf and Billiards. It's my brother-in-law's business, and they were having a car show today. And he asked me to just come in and help fill in and make some chicken nuggets and pizza slices and things of that nature. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I happen to be in the supply closet here. So remote from the supply closet as well as the beach. So here you are, people. We're connecting with you all over the place. So can we dive in on today's topic today and how we can address the issues and how we can help?
absolutely. So, one of the big things I think, and we knew this even before research was coming out about it, but like social media has this negative impact on us. It's a really positive thing in so many ways. It can keep us connected with people. We can just share our lives and creativity and all kinds of things, but there's this dark side to it. And, now the research coming out, of course, is confirming what we all suspected that, hey, maybe like there's parts of this that aren't so good. And, that's kind of the thing that we want to talk about. And then really, what do we do about that? If we're experiencing some of these harmful negative effects from social media, what do we do? And because it's not just like, well, oh well, it is what it is. It's not one of those things. There are like practical things that we can do. I've done some of them myself. And so, definitely going to share about some of that.
I know, like with myself, there was, sorry, I still have a voice, week 5.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so I know that in the past, I've actually had to take a break from social media, just because it was getting too overwhelming and I was comparing myself and feeling like I wasn't good enough, and it can just really tailspin. And so I think that the biggest thing is being able to step back and say, okay, I can take a break. I don't need to, connect just in this way. There's other ways to connect with people. Meet somebody for coffee, go to the beach.
How about calling somebody?
Yes.
Right? Not texting,
You're
right?
calling.
Some people may not know there's a feature on their phone that allows you to talk to somebody. Yeah. Right?
Exactly.
And I'm guilty of that, right?
Yeah.
Like my phone rings, I'm like, right? I'm like, just text me. Like, but
My brother will message me and say, can this be done through text? He just won't answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the age that we've gotten into, era, I guess is better to say. But, the truth of the matter is, social media can be a great thing. I always say technology is great when it works. But technology can be wonderful as far as social media goes and the social aspect of it, but it's been used a lot of times to bring more harm than good. And for people who just are already dealing with their low self-esteem, and they get on here and they see this portrait of someone and see this social media life, but underneath, that's not really what it is. I was
Right.
doing a marriage counseling session this past week with a couple, and I said, hey, come and get plugged into the church and mingle with other Christian married couples. And she was like, well, how can I fit in with them? They got it all together. I said, no, they don't. We all got junk going on. We all have some type of dysfunction someplace somewhere along the way. But at the end of the day, though, we're hanging around people who will encourage us, who will also be transparent and say, look, I'm going through something too. Marriage counseling or sessions that we've done, marriage conferences rather, a couple thinks that they're the only ones dealing with something, and they go to see 500 other couples. So what people are dealing with social media and the effect it has on them, you're not alone. So what can we do about it?
Well, I think, a lot of things, I mean, when we look at it, like every time you get a like on social media, it rewards you, right? The pleasure center of your brain is activated. It's like eating really good food, or, having just something really exciting happen. And it's the same thing when we get those likes, and, so we kind of, in a sense, get addicted to it, right? And we need more and more likes to, feed that pleasure center in our brain. And, first of all, so I think it's important that we recognize what's happening, and say, like, oh, you know what, like this, I'm, kind of getting my validation from this, and is this real, right? And so, that's definitely step one. Like, I have to know that this is going on, and really what's happening, and of course, all of social media is designed to feed that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, you can't find a social media platform that doesn't have some form of the like button,
Yes.
and the more you get, the better it is.
Yes.
And so, so know that, right? Like, and there was I can't remember which one it was. I can't remember if it was Instagram. I don't know. One of those platforms at one point was trying to just kind of moderate the likes that people were getting to try to counter this effect. It didn't work, of course, but um, but it, when we don't get all those things and our pleasure center of our brain's not getting rewarded, we start to experience depression, anxiety, right? It affects our self-esteem, and we've really found this especially with teenagers. Um, Starting in 2012, all of a sudden, rates of anxiety and depression amongst teenagers skyrocketed. And what happened in 2012? Cell phone use became ubiquitous, and they had access to social media all the time, right? And so, direct correlation, we can argue cause and effect, but there was nothing else going on that any researchers ever found, and they've been looking at this now for several years. So knowing that, right, like what's really happening to us, what's happening to our brains, that's important. Like just having that education.
And I think too, like I know a lot with the kids that I do talk to, a lot of them get bullied from, and it's through social media. Oh, they're saying all this stuff about me on Snapchat, or and it's like, just go off or delete people, or follow people. You don't have to
Yeah.
continue to see what they're posting, because you can block people. You don't have to see it. So I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, totally is, and I think we can all relate in some fashion or form. Just before I move on, I wanted to just mention there was a movie out, or documentary, whatever, on Netflix, I believe, that talked about the effects of social media and how they actually set up these notifications and things to pump that that addiction that we all may be having or dealing with, and uh, it's sad, but there's a lot of people that try to find their identity on social media, And social media for a lot of the time is fake. You're only seeing a little window, a 2 minute window of a person, and you think, oh, they got it all together. And it's not the truth. The truth is that we're all flawed. We all have something that other people wouldn't agree with or go for. I was talking to a gentleman just a little while ago out on the floor here, and he talked about the deal with the politics and all that. You know, voting for this person versus voting for that person, and the way it separates us,
Yep.
right? And so we can become divided by a person just because they're sharing their belief,
Yep.
what they think is right at the time. And so social media leaves out those contexts. Now, I wanted to bring this up to us today, and that is where certain people will get on social media there and begin talking about a person without mentioning their name, but the person who's being talked about knows they're talking about them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's just so sneaky and
Yep.
and devastating, right?
Yep.
Underhanded.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
And
it
and
does
so
happen a lot.
yeah, it does. And so it's how do we unplug from that? Because the fun part of social media is the social interaction, is the connection, it's connecting with mom and dad, brothers and sisters, our friends, just to see what's going on, to keep up to date and everything. That's the beautiful thing of social media. But the bad side of it is when conspiracy starts or some kind of you know chatter happens back and forth, and they're throwing somebody under the bus. So
And I think we've all been at fault for reading someone's argument, spending like all this time just scrolling and reading the whole argument. Sorry, I didn't
yes,
mean to interrupt you, but
absolutely. And here's another thing, guys. We sometimes gain or what we call a third party offense.
Yep.
We'll see someone post something, and then we'll have unforgiveness towards a person we've never even met, to a
Mm-hmm.
person that's never done anything to us. I saw that happen with, when my sister was killed back in 2015. And, social media lit up with people and their perspective on the man that killed her. And they had all these things to say about him. And, he's probably this, he's probably that. And just saying all these things without knowing all the facts. And whether they were true or not, the point is that they were saying all these things and people were getting bitter and angry, and it didn't even happen to them. And I agree that there should be some social justice, people standing up for what's right, that kind of thing. But when we start holding on to unforgiveness towards a person, or we come in contact, we see that person in real life, and we already have aught against them. You don't even know me, right?
Yeah.
And whether it's
Yeah.
true or not, that's what ends up happening. And so we've heard the statement in the justice system that you're innocent before proven guilty, right? But it's the other way around. You're guilty before proven innocent.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
and I think too, one of the Bible verses is it Proverbs 4:23 says, "Guard your heart, for it's the very wellspring of life." And how do we do that? That's what you're talking about, like the offense. How do you protect from stepping into an offense? How do you protect from, um, like the self-esteem issues? Like, how do we do that? And the Bible tells us, guard your heart,
Mm.
guard it, protect it, because that's going to pour out of everything.
And I
Yeah.
think, we've talked about this principle, about in Ephesians 6, right? You who are spiritual, restore others with gentleness, right? And we talked about that a lot when we were talking about the fruit of the spirit. If you don't remember that, go back and watch those episodes. But that principle applies even in social media. Like, before we respond to things, am I doing this, with the fruit of the spirit? Am I spiritual? big S, really, right? Capital S. Am I doing this with gentleness? And if not, don't do it, right? And but like we don't like we're just like, oh, it's just social media. You're like, whatever. You're like, and then get all these trolls. We're just out there like stirring stuff up, and like people get off on that, and they're excited about it. Um, they get all of their pleasure center rewarded because they're like attacking people, and they don't even care. They're just trying to make points, right?
Mhm.
And it's but we don't understand the harm of that, and just because it's 2024 doesn't mean the Bible's gone out of the window. Just because Jesus didn't have social media doesn't mean that these principles don't apply.
No.
And we do need to do better. And and part of it too, like kind of getting back to one of the things you had said earlier, like in even in church, like you should be able to go there and you know be who you are, not put on this fake persona in church. Like that's not helpful to anyone. I know there's definitely that pressure and kind of expectation even in some churches that like, oh, we don't act like we're sinners, right? But we need that, right? Not that we're going to go and glorify it or celebrate anybody's sin or brokenness or anything like that. That's not what it's about. But being able to be your authentic self
Mhm.
and bring your struggles in and have that help and support to grow in Christ, right? That's what it's all about, and even on here, right? Like, we kind of joke about it. Like usually when we're at home, Gallagher's, just, being himself and obnoxious and barking and right. And we all have our little weird things that happen while we're on here, and we don't edit any of this because, right? Like this is what you get, right? Like what you see is what you get. That's why we're up. We're in Ludington. You're at the golf course in a storage room, right? Like this is just authentic. This is real. This is who we are, right? I had a background on, and I finally figured out how to turn that off today. I've been trying for a couple of weeks. It wouldn't turn off. I'm like, I'm not illiterate when it comes to technology. Why is it so difficult? But I finally figured it out.
Yeah.
I feel that's the thing too, and I don't know if people realize this, but on social media, you can actually buy followers, so it looks like you have a bigger following.
Yeah.
And I don't think people know that. And they're always, well, why do they have so many people? Why do they have so many likes? They bought them. They bought them. Not all, everybody, but So I think stop comparing yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of that has to do with some of the features that social media platforms have require that you have so many likes, so many followers in order for some tools to even be activated. And I suppose if they're doing it for that reason, okay. But but when they're doing it to try to have this appearance to the public, like they've got all these people, I think that runs into a danger, and because again, it's what people see, right? And it's when I look at a person and I say, wow, they have a million likes or whatever, maybe
Yep.
they're the ones to go to, but
Yeah.
probably not.
No, and I know somebody
They
who was
become
like,
the expert.
yeah, I know somebody who, like they were, oh, praise the Lord, I have 10,000 followers or whatever, but I'm like, only 10 people like your post. So something's not connecting here, and, trying to be like, oh, like, and then of course they bought followers and you're like, wow, like, you're going to brag about God. That wasn't God, and,
Well,
but it's that fakeness.
I will chime in and say this, that platforms often use software to keep that information going out to their 10,000 followers,
Mm-hmm.
right? So some of that is curtailed, unfortunately. And unless you're willing to pay more money to boost your post, a lot of people won't get to see it. And so
Don't see it.
that plays on a person. And
It
they're
does,
like, and if they don't know this bit of information, they're like, well, what's going on? How come people don't see that? This is great information here. Like, for instance, what we're doing here right now and how it can help people. And there may be, 20 likes or whatever the case, or 50 or 100, whatever it is, when it should be 1,000, right?
Right.
Or a couple of thousand. It should be that, but there's those tools and mechanisms in
Yep.
place that say, hey, if you want all the people that you earned, that you gathered, that you went out and connected with and
Yep.
got them to like your page that you did, sorry, you can't talk to them unless you pay us money. And,
Yep.
and that kind of stinks. But it
It
again,
does.
it plays on our minds.
Mm.
It's not good for our social, excuse me, our mental health, and it plays on that. So I wanted to tap into this. Is the aspect of how do we pull away? So there are, I'm sure you've dealt with this a lot. There are, for instance, women who are in abusive situations, and my husband beats on me, or whatever the case may be. But when he's not that way, he's just so loving and gentle and kind, right? And I don't want to leave him, all right? And so some of that is similar with social media. So social media has a lot of beautiful things to it. Like I said, you could connect with family and things of that nature. But the negative side is there. And so how do we step away? You talked a moment ago, Talara, about the scripture. It says, guard your heart. That should be our primary function. Our primary focus is to guard our heart above all. And so when that heart is being affected, we need to be willing to say, you know what? I need to take a break from social media, or I need to just unplug from it altogether, or whatever the case may be, especially when it's not good for our mental health or our health, like in an abusive relationship situation. Can you speak
Yeah.
into that at all?
So I just want to say this thing about tools. So there is a digital well-being that you could like on mine. I don't know if you can see it
Yeah,
very
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Oh, that's see, it just gave me away how much time I've spent on on these media or the medias and stuff. You can actually do like set timers. So at a certain time, it it shuts down. It says you used all your time for Facebook today or Instagram or whatever. So I just wanted to tell you that that is available on I know on Androids. I don't know what iPhone has, but I also think that sometimes maybe it is like recognizing, okay, am I spending most of my like social time on just on Facebook, on Instagram, or am I actually connecting with people? Am I um am I actually going out and spending time with God even, like out and enjoying like the beaches and the woods or anything? Are you doing those things? And
Mm,
I think that's a good.
And the research has shown like even cutting back a half hour a day has a positive effect on our mental health. And and but it may be like, maybe we've all seen those people say, "Oh, I'm going off this platform. I'm not doing it right," and then they're back a week later. Like, you won't see me for 2 months. Well, yeah, hello. 2 days later, here you are, right? You can stay away. Because there is this piece, right? Like, it is almost a form of addiction sometimes for people, but um, but we just crave that, you know. And I don't have the Facebook app or anything on my phone. Um, and so if I want to use it, like I actually have to go into the browser. Not that that's that big of a deal, but it's just this extra step, right? That can sometimes just slow us down, give us time just to think like, do I really want to spend my time on this? And years ago, I don't even remember how long ago, 5, 6 years ago, I can't remember. Um, I was doing this thing, and I didn't really tell anybody I was doing it. I just did it. Where like every month I fasted something different,
mm.
and never did coffee though, which is probably what I should have done, but I didn't. Um, so because coffee is delicious, but I did fast Facebook for a month, and I actually discovered I really enjoyed that. And so that month became a year. And so I spent the next year, like I'd get on it once in a while, but I wasn't liking anything. I wasn't responding to anything. I was just kind of looking at the people that I really wanted to see and know about. And I really, really liked it. You know, getting away from that. Like it just felt like pressure having to be on Facebook and having to post things and like everybody's things because they're like, why aren't you liking my stuff? Right. You know, and just being like, I don't like anybody's stuff.
That would have been
Well, let me chime in on that real quick. So that's an important part. I want to point out a couple things. So one is that very thing. My wife would ask me. She goes, Didn't you see what I posted?" I said, "No." She would say, "Didn't you see what so and so posted?" I said, "No. I don't get the same stuff in my news feed like you get." But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us think, well, because I'm seeing it,
Right.
Mr. Susie should be seeing it too. So why isn't she liking all my stuff? And sometimes it's a matter of choice, but the other part of it is I don't see it. And so I can't like on something I don't see. And so there again brings that thought, well, that person must not like me, and this, that, and
Yeah.
the other. And it has nothing to do with it. And so we got to be aware of that. And then another thing I wanted to bring up is the notifications. Turn off the notifications because
Yeah.
those are adrenaline hits, and we we don't want to turn that off, right? And
Yep.
so
Because
when
all of
you,
a sudden, then you're back into it too, right? Oh, I got a
yeah,
notification that somebody posted. Oh, I got to look at it. No, you
that's
don't.
right. I mean, leave the notifications in the app so when you log on, you can look at notifications and see what popped
yeah.
up, but you don't have to be in the moment with all the
Yep.
notifications going on because again, they're distracting. And as I mentioned, that movie, that documentary that's on Netflix, it's powerful when it talks about these notifications that go out and the time of day they go out and the type of notification that goes
Yeah.
out from the person that it goes out from. And all of that plays a part in keeping us addicted to our
Yep.
social media. And so we've got to take it back and say, you know what, I'm going to use it as a tool. I don't keep a hammer with me every single day, uh, just in
Yep.
case I need a hammer, right? We don't need social media so much every day to guide our life. And so again, I want to go back to what you said, Talora, about that scripture that we need to guard our heart. And if we're getting in a place where it is conflicting us, if we're
Mhm.
sad or feeling beat up on or ganged up on social media, or feeling like we're not being accepted or not liked, or see someone else and wish we had the life that they had, coveting, all of
Yeah.
this stuff, it plays a part in our mental health. And that's the whole reason why we're having this broadcast today is to dive into this and to talk about these things that we struggle with. And sometimes it may be right on at the edge of our nose, and we just need to take a break from
Mm-hmm.
social media just to see if maybe that's what it is, and then come back with a healthy approach to it
Yeah.
Like I
and
was,
use it that way. Yeah, go ahead, Tallulah.
I was going to say that was one of the things I was trying to get out earlier about evaluating. Am I spending this much time on here? Is it taking away from my family? Is it taking away from my kids? Am I not interacting with people? Start checking yourself because self-awareness becomes the first stage of change is when we start seeing, okay, that's affecting me.
And even knowing maybe like, oh, like I tried to take that break and I couldn't do it.
Mm.
Right. I was back on after 2 days. So, oh, maybe that you need something more. Maybe you need some more help on that. I mean, there are actually therapists who specialize in this because it does resemble addictions. So it's no different than drugs in a sense because it all hits that pleasure center and we can get to that place where like we can't do it on our own. We try to go cold turkey, it doesn't work, and um, you know, so I've definitely, had people that I'm like, all right, well, let's tackle this, right? And let's work on this. And some people don't like that. I call it an addiction. They don't like it, but I'm not addicted, right? Well, you are. I'm like, can you give it up? Can you stop? You can't? Oh, well, it's
It's a
it's a problem.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And I've always said you can have things, you just don't want things to have you.
Yep.
And so if you can do social media, but you don't want social media to do you. And
Yep.
so uh, that's a very important part. And uh, the other part is like you were mentioning, the time that we spend on it. Or when's the last time we were able to set our phone down and actually have dinner with our family and not
Mm-hmm.
be interrupted by social media or anything for that matter that comes from this device? That we're able to set it aside and say, you know what, I'm going to connect with you. You're actually here in front of me. I get to touch you, smell you, feel you, hug you, hold you, and here you are in the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
But yet
Yep.
we're texting each other in the same house. I mean, there's something wrong with that. And
Yep.
so,
well,
you
and
know,
at the end of
yeah, go
life, one of the biggest things that happens is regret. You look back on your life. Is it Eric Erickson has the motto, and there's a part in our life where we'll look back and reflect on our life. Did I do what I was, destined for? Or did I do I can't even think now, but you know, did did I make the connections I wanted to make? Did I spend time with my family? And you either are satisfied or you regret.
that's good. That's powerful. So, what are some more things we can do? Like, let's say that a person is addicted. What can they do to change their current course?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really do think that the hard thing is sometimes you might just have to say, I can't have this, right? If I'm an alcoholic, I can't have alcohol. If I'm addicted to heroin, I can't have heroin or probably any other opiate ever because it's going to trigger that. And, so I might say, well, I'm addicted to Facebook, but I'm going to have Instagram. Well, you're going to get addicted to that too. Like it's the same opiate. And it really does sometimes take professional help to do that. It takes a big support network because it's everywhere. Like everybody has their phone. It's so easy to get to it. Um, and I mean, for your kids, if you have teenagers, like you should have parental controls on their phones and be monitoring that and setting the limits for them because they don't know how to do that on their own. So, I have teenagers complain all the time, right? About I can't do anything. Good. That's awesome. Right?
Go
They don't like
outside.
what I tell
That's
them.
right.
Like, I fully support your parents in that. And they're like, that's stupid. Well, it's not, right? And I'll tell them, I'll explain, right? Brain development and all of these things. And like, yeah, you're learning some independence. That's why you even have a phone. But, you still need boundaries. We all need boundaries, right?
Oh, we all.
But but, but so sometimes maybe we need other people to help us with the boundaries for a minute,
That's good.
so maybe it is like, maybe you get parental controls put on your phone.
Get accountability partners too.
Yeah, yeah. Even those dealing with pornography and things of that nature. There's accountability partners in place there, so that
Yep.
when we get tempted or whatever the case may be, we can connect to that person. There was I don't know if it still exists, but there was an actual website that you could subscribe to that knew when you were going to these sites, and it would automatically ping your accountability partner so they could say, hey, what are you doing? How come you're hanging out in that site, that kind of thing.
I think it's
Yeah,
Covenant Eyes.
yeah, it
That's
could
one
be
of
that.
them.
Covenant
There's a
Eyes, yeah.
few. Yeah, and I've had clients use those, and I think, and it's great. Like, because you do need that. You need a way, you know, just that you can be authentic and honest and vulnerable, right? And we talked last week about that faux vulnerability, that fake vulnerability that we tend to exhibit in the church, and um, the conference I went to, they called it vulnerability. It's hard to say, but
Is that with a
just like
phone?
FAUX, so
Oh, faux.
neuroability.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Faux. Okay.
Fake, this fake vulnerability that we have, but like, really being able to enter into that, sometimes it's scary, but that's why, sometimes having a therapist is a good thing because, typically like, you're not hanging out with your therapist, right? There's just somebody you can go to and they kind of like hold all of your secrets and those shameful parts that you don't want to deal with, they hold that for you. And there's freedom in that. I don't know how many people have come in and been like, I've never told anybody this, but that was so freeing when I was able to,
Hmm.
and so really being able to be honest and be like, I can't handle the social media. I can't do that. Some people are okay with, we'd call it harm reduction in addictions with just cutting back, and they're able to do that successfully. Um, so maybe it is just like, I'll only get on once a week and they're okay with that. Or setting the limits on their phone so the timer goes off, like, okay, you've been on for an hour. you know
Don't add more time. Would you like to add more time? Fall for it every time.
um,
That's good. That's so good. And so, folks, we've been talking about a lot of stuff. We've covered a lot of ground here today, but I think we've only scratched the surface because there's so many integral parts to this beast, uh, of social media and the effects it can have and how we can identify our pitfalls with it and things of that nature, and also see the good and be able to use it for the tool I think it was originally created for. So we've got to keep that in mind. But if you're dealing with any of this, that's why we put this broadcast together. And then Ben and Talora are counselors, and they're in position to help you walk through this. Maybe dealing with social media and how do you get off it? Because there is good parts to it, but if the bad parts are outweighing the good, we have to do what's right to guard our heart. So, Ben and Talora, how can people reach you for help?
so two quick ways. Our phone number 616-902-9007. You can also contact us and get all of our other contact information on our website, quiescounseling.com. It's QUIES counseling.com.
That's good. Any other helpful tips as we wrap up this session?
So I would just kind of reiterate again what we've been saying the whole time. It's just really being able to be vulnerable and honest with yourself about it. And if you're recognizing areas where it's a problem, let's tackle that. Like you don't have to keep letting it be a problem and taking away from other areas of your life. And if you do find that, it's not always about just like, I don't have to just remove social media, but I need to add something positive in.
Mm.
So, and it could be like really like go hang out on the beach like we're doing right now, even though it's a little chilly, but but just find something positive to do to replace that time that you would have been, get into your Bible,
Yeah. Go to
something.
church.
Go to church, right? Not online.
Yeah.
You can get
Yes.
there physically.
Yeah.
Go, right?
Physical
Something about
connection.
community. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's just
community.
something about it, being there and seeing your brothers and sisters in Christ. There's just something that's nothing like no other.
Yeah, and the Bible tells us not to forsake the assembling of ourselves together, or not to avoid it. There's several
Yeah.
people that are just so introverted, and they've allowed what technology has to offer and these things today to keep us glued to our screens.
Yeah.
And there's a whole world out there, and it's beautiful that I'm able to look at your picture right now and see the green trees and green leaves. I mean, and see that. And it's not a background. It's not a filter. It's real. It's
That was
there.
real.
And you're experiencing it right now. So again, everybody, thank you for tuning in today. If you found this helpful to you, please share this with others. Let them know about it. Let them know about us and how we can be a blessing to them. Please like on it, comment, share. We want your feedback. So post on this and let us know, or do the direct messaging and connect with us that way. But if we can do anything to help encourage you. If there's other topics that you'd like us to cover, please let us know. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll hope to see you next week for The Gathering Place. God bless everybody.
Thanks, Tom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here we go. Where did it go? There it is. Oh, there it went. I found it. Okay. God bless.